beginning of the 20th century, there has been a growing interest in Buddhism in the West. Many Occidental scholars, philosophers, and psychologists are engaging in the study of Buddhist thought, and young people are reading Buddhist literature and practicing meditation. The major purpose of this book is to facilitate understanding of Buddhism, especially of Nagarjuna's thought, by presenting his 12 Gate Treatise in English translation. Nagarjuna lived in the 2nd century AD and founded Madhyamika Buddhism. He is considered one of the greatest thinkers of Undaya, and his philosophy is thought of as the central philosophy of Buddhism. Scholars have done extensive studies and systematic presentations of Nagarjuna's writings since early in the century. However, certain aspects of his teachings have not been adequately treated. This is partly due to the fact that some important texts of Madhyamika Buddhism are still unknown to scholars. One of these is the 12 Gate Treatise. For instance, T.R.V. Murthy, a well-known contemporary Madhyamika scholar, wrote, "Nowhere does the Madhyamika concern itself directly with issues like God, soul, matter, creation, etc. But actually, the Madhyamika does discuss those issues in the 12 Gate Treatise." Nagarjuna does not explicitly claim that he is a Mahayana Buddhist in the middle treatise or the Madhyamika, which does not mention the term. This has led some scholars to wonder whether Nagarjuna is really a Mahayanist. A. K. Warder once stated,
Modem students have sometimes supposed that he is criticizing early Buddhism, or the early schools, in order to set up Mahayana instead. Is there any truth in this supposition? We have already pointed out that there is nothing overtly Mahayanist. It seems to me that the problem of whether Nagarjuna was a Mahayana Buddhist would be resolved if one had just read only the first few paragraphs of the 12 Gate Treatise, where Nagarjuna clearly stated that the treatise was given to expound the essential teachings of Mahayana. In China, Korea and Japan, Nagarjuna's school of thought is known as the Sanluan Tsung, for it is based upon 3 main texts, namely, the Middle Treatise, the 12 Gate Treatise and the 100 Treatise. According to Chinese Sanluan masters, one should study these 3 texts together in order to gain a broad philosophical understanding of Buddhist thought. These works comprise the canonical literature of many other Buddhist schools. Nagarjuna became the revered patriarch of various Mahayana sections. Unfortunately, the 12 Gate Treatise, which is a concise summary of Nagarjuna's philosophy, exists only in Chinese. This book introduces the 12 Gate Treatise to English readers and presents Madhyamika teachings from Chinese sources.
In the translation, I have attempted to be as close as possible to the original text. However, when the literal Chinese would convey little or no meaning in English, I have expressed the Chinese freely. In Chinese grammar, the subject or predicate of a sentence is often understood and therefore not included. So in some instances I have taken the liberty of providing the subject or predicate in the translation for the sake of readability in English. To assist the general reader as well as the specialist in understanding ideas and technical terms, I have given a brief introduction to each chapter and included paragraphs of explanation in the body of Nagarjuna's arguments. These are labeled comment. Words enclosed in brackets are additions not contained in the original. Expressions in parentheses are alternative translations, principally by Sanskrit terms or Romanized Chinese characters. A list of Chinese terms has been provided for those who want to refer to the Chinese originals of certain key terms in the text. The glossary will serve as a brief Buddhist dictionary of important Sanskrit, Pali, Chinese, Japanese and English words used in the book. Throughout the work, the abbreviation T is given to indicate the Teisho Shinshu Daizokyo.
I wish to gratefully acknowledge the assistance of faculties of the Center for Buddhist Studies at the University of Wisconsin-Madison and University of Hsueh-li at Hilo. A special word of appreciation is due to the late Dr. Richard Robinson, Dr. M. Kyoto and Dr. Martin Huntley for their great help in my research on Buddhist religion and philosophy. I also wish to acknowledge my indebtedness to Dr. Timothy Wu, Dr. Kenneth K. Inada, Dr. Paul McCarthy, John Paxson, Mark Cohen, Walter Westcott, Mrs. Jack Hose and Judy Graham, who read the manuscript and offered suggestions. The encouragement of my colleagues, Dr. Evan Adams, Dr. Donald Wells and the late Dr. Hideo Aoki has been a powerful stimulus to the completion of this work. A sincere appreciation is extended to Dr. David C. Purcell Jr., Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences, University of Hawaii at Hilo, for providing secretarial assistance in typing and copying the manuscript. I am grateful to Professor Bimal K. Madlal of Oxford University and Professor J. Musaf Masan of University of Toronto, who reviewed the manuscript at the final stage and gave valuable comments. Special acknowledgement is due the following publishers for their permission to use certain materials: Cambridge University Press, Fordham University Press, University of Wisconsin Press, and Dialogue Publishing Company. I have used some materials from my own articles in the following journals: Nagarjuna, Kant and Wittgenstein, the Sanlun Madhyamika Exposition of Emptiness, Religious Studies, and Truth and Logic in Sanlun Madhyamika Buddhism, International Philosophical Quarterly. Finally, I thank my wife, Alice Cheong-Hui Cheng, for her acute criticism, enlightened advice, and wholehearted support.
Nagarjuna and the spread of his teachings. It is difficult and even impossible to arrive at a completely accurate, historical account of Nagarjuna's life because later Buddhists have tended to embellish and fictionalize him. There are often different and conflicting accounts of the life and work of Madhyamika's founder. Some sources confuse Arya Nagarjuna, the founder of Madhyamika Buddhism, with Siddha Nagarjuna who lived some 400 years later. And two birthplaces, Vidarbha and Kanchi, are given for Nagarjuna. Almost all accounts, however, agree that Nagarjuna was born in South Lundaya, came from the Brahmin caste and received a Brahmanical education. Also, that he nearly died while still a youth. According to Tibetan sources, astrologers had predicted that Nagarjuna would die prematurely at the age of 7. His parents believed the astrologers and sent him away because they could not bear to witness his death. This source of tradition alleges that he escaped death by entering the Buddhist order. According to his translator Kumrajiva, Nagarjuna was overpowered with sensuous desire and passion in his early days. He and 3 friends entered a royal palace, by making themselves invisible, and seduced its women. But royal guards soon discovered and slew Nagarjuna's 3 friends. This experience stirred him deeply and awakened him to the truth that lust is an origin of suffering and misfortune. He vowed to become a Sramana, a Buddhist monk or ascetic, if he could escape alive. He did escape, entered the Buddhist order and studied all the Buddhist scriptures then available to him. He recited and mastered the Hinayana Tripitaka in 90 days, but was not satisfied and sought further. Nagarjuna is said to have obtained the Mahayana scriptures from a Naga and to have been satisfied with the teachings of the texts. He devoted his life to expounding and propagating the Mahayana message. He spent his later days at Brahmarajiri in a monastery built for him by a Salavahana king.
Many works have been credited to Nagarjuna, but it is difficult to know exactly how many are authentic. However, if we accept the Madhyamika as authentic, we can accept the authenticity of Dvadasadvara Sastra, Vigrahavaya and Yuktisastakataka, for the contents of these are similar and exhibit the essentials of Nagarjuna's philosophy. Madhyamika Buddhism was further developed by Aryadeva. He, too, was a native of South Lundaya and came from the Brahmin caste. Generally speaking, Nagarjuna used dialectic to attack Yirmayana Buddhism. Aryadeva believed that Nagarjuna's dialectic could also be used to refute all other philosophies, and he used it to criticize Brahmanism. He debated publicly with the Brahmanists and converted them. He also proselytized a hostile South Indian king.